guys, today we're going to look at yarn management for colorwork knitting when dealing with exceptionally long floats. When you're doing colorwork, especially garments, so in this case it'll prepare you for socks or sweaters, it's less of a big deal with cowls, but especially for something that you're going to be pulling on and off regularly, you don't want long floats. I usually try to avoid floats that are more than 3 stitches long. In order to avoid them when knitting a longer stretch of a single color, you can catch your yarn behind your work. In order to do so, you need to be able to do two-handed yarn management, and we do have a video on that available. For this, I'll be knitting my blue yarn in the continental style with my left hand, and I'll be knitting the white yarn in the English style with my right hand. Let's assume that our pattern calls for 8 stitches of white followed by 1 stitch of blue. I don't like to go more than 3 stitches to a float, so here I've done 3 white, and instead of just knitting that 4th stitch, I'll slip my needle through from front to back and place my blue yarn, the yarn I'm not using that's floating behind, on top of the needle. Throw the yarn, move the blue yarn off the needle, and pull the white stitch through. When I knit the next stitch, it gets caught, preventing a long float. So now I've worked 8 stitches of my white yarn, but I've caught that blue yarn halfway through. So now I'll do 1 of the blue. Right? And now another 8 of white. After that 3rd stitch, before I throw my white yarn, I'm going to place the blue on top of the needle, throw my white, and move the blue off the needle, and pull the stitch through. After I knit the next stitch, it catches again, creating nice clean floats that catch every 3 stitches. And 8. And I knit another blue. The 3rd stitch, I catch my blue. And I've reached the end of the row. And as you can see, I have nice, clean, flat floats caught every few stitches. One note I will give on this is that if you're working something like socks that you need to have a little stretch, you're going to make sure and keep a really light tension with that back color that's floating. And these are maybe a little tighter than I would do for a sock, but it depends on your personal preference and your gauge. All right? I'm going to go ahead and turn my work and work back the other way, even though typically we would be knitting or we would be purling this next row. Let's pretend we're working in the round. I'm going to turn and knit it back across and show you what to do when the yarn colors are reversed. So this time I'm going to work 8 stitches of blue, which I'm knitting continental, and 1 stitch of white, which I'm throwing in the English style. So I'll start with 8 stitches of blue. At that 3rd stitch, I want to go ahead and catch my white yarn, or after the 3rd stitch on the 4th stitch. When the yarn that I'm catching is the one in my right hand, is the English yarn, I throw it across, catch the blue yarn, bring the white yarn off. It's very important to always bring that contrast color off the needle before you finish knitting the stitch. And just like before, you'll find that it's caught right here between that 3rd and 4th stitch. And now I'll knit 1 with white, and we'll do it again. After 3 of my blue stitches, I want to go ahead and catch that white stitch. I put it over the right hand needle. I grab the blue yarn as if to knit. I bring the white yarn back off, and you can see right here what it's doing is twisting around that blue yarn in the back. Knit the blue one through. And knit a white stitch. So one more time. I throw it over as if to knit. I grab the actual main color I'll be knitting with, pull that contrast color back off so that it's twisted around that main color in the back, and then knit the main color through. All right, if you're making a test swatch at home to practice and you're knitting every row as I did, what you're going to wind up with is floats on both the front and back. That's okay. Here, you can see again, nice, clean, even floats every few stitches. Less likely to snag, and it keeps your work a little more stretchy and pliable. If you prefer to have a clean right and wrong side on your swatch, you can always purl the alternate row and then start back. Or you can cast on and work in the round if desired for your swatch. Do you? Thanks, guys.